All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to be diving into ChatGPT again. This time it's about this new feature that lets it actually edit code on your computer.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild development, I think.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of a big deal, and we've got this article that explains it all called ChatGPT's Magic Code Fixer on Macs and Windows.
Right.
So, what are we hoping to unpack today with this? Well, first off, like, how does this even work? What's the magic behind this so-called Magic Code Fixer?
Yeah,
Then why should anyone even care about this? Like, what's the big deal if you're not a coder?
right.
And then are there any potential downsides? Because there's always a flip side to these things, right? And finally, how does this all fit into the bigger picture of where AI and coding are going?
Right. Yeah, that's a big one. I think this article really dives into how this specific feature with code editing is just one piece of a much larger trend with AI.
Mm.
And, this really is changing the landscape of how software is developed.
Absolutely. So this article starts off by calling ChatGPT a magic pen for code, which sounds pretty catchy, but I don't really get it. Could you maybe unpack that a bit?
Yeah, sure. So basically, ChatGPT can now talk directly to code editors, things like Xcode, VS Code, and JetBrains.
Okay.
These are all programs that coders use to write and edit their code. Before, they would have to copy the code from ChatGPT and then paste it into the editor.
Got it.
But now ChatGPT can actually insert and modify the code right there in the project itself. It uses these things called APIs, which are like a set of rules that let different programs communicate.
Okay, so no more switching back and forth between windows. That's pretty handy, I imagine.
Exactly. It's a big time saver. And it goes even further than that. There's this auto-apply mode where ChatGPT can actually make the code changes automatically.
Wow, hold on. Automatically.
Yeah.
So it's like ChatGPT is right there with you, making the changes as you go.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of like an AI pair programmer. I mean, I'm not a coder, but I could see how that could be a game changer.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. And the article actually highlights how this all fits into a bigger trend of AI tools becoming more and more integrated into coding. We've seen things like GitHub Copilot, which is another AI tool that can suggest code completions, but this direct editing ability with ChatGPT is a whole other level.
I'm really starting to see the potential here. Like, this could lead to way faster development times, which could even lead to lower costs for software in the long run.
Absolutely. And to really hammer that home, the article mentions that OpenAI is even planning to release a whole separate product just for code fixing and writing. It seems like they're going all in on this idea of AI as your coding partner.
Interesting. But the article also mentions some potential downsides, like AI making mistakes in the code, making things unstable. How big of a deal is that? I mean, do we really need to be worried?
Right. Well, it's definitely something to think about. I mean, as powerful as AI is, it's not perfect, right?
Yeah.
You can kind of think of it like a really talented but kind of inexperienced junior developer.
Right.
They can make amazing stuff, but you still really need a senior developer there to catch any mistakes and to guide them, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. So basically, human oversight is still crucial. We can't just completely hand the reins over to the AI just yet.
Exactly. We still need that human touch, that critical thinking, and deep understanding of coding to ensure that the AI is actually doing what we want it to do.
Right. It's all about finding that balance.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the whole role of a developer is kind of changing. It's less about just writing code and more about, managing and collaborating with these AI systems that can write code too.
So it's less about memorizing syntax and more about like the big picture stuff, right?
Mm.
Like designing efficient algorithms or building robust systems.
Exactly. And the article actually brings up this GitHub poll that found most developers are already using AI coding tools. So it's not like this is some far off future thing that's happening right now.
Yeah, that's a pretty big sign that the industry is embracing this whole thing. But what about those who are maybe a little bit hesitant? What are some valid concerns that people might have about relying on AI for something as crucial as writing code?
Well, one concern that comes up is bias. Like, if the data that was used to train the AI is biased in some way, then that could lead to, biased outcomes in the code itself. And this could have some pretty big consequences, especially in fields like finance or healthcare.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point. And it really highlights the need for transparency and accountability in how these AI systems are developed and trained, right?
Absolutely. And it's not just about the AI itself, it's also about the developers who are using it. Do they have the skills and the knowledge to critically evaluate the code that's generated by AI? Can they spot potential issues?
So it's not just about replacing human coders with AI, it's more about giving them the right tools and the right training to effectively use AI in their work.
Exactly. It's a partnership. It's not a replacement. And that partnership requires a new set of skills and a different way of thinking about the coding process.
The article also mentioned the impact on the job market. Some people are worried that AI will, like, automate all the coding jobs out of existence. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a tough one. It is true that AI could automate certain coding tasks, but I don't think it's going to completely replace human coders. The role of the developer, I think it'll evolve. They'll probably focus more on higher level tasks like problem solving and design and collaboration.
So maybe instead of eliminating jobs, it might actually create new ones. Like maybe we'll start seeing AI code architects or AI debugging specialists or something like that.
Exactly. And technology has always disrupted the job market. It's always changing things. The important thing is being able to adapt to those changes and develop the skills that are needed to thrive in this new landscape.
So instead of fearing the unknown, we should look at it as like an opportunity to learn and grow and push the boundaries of what's possible with technology.
I completely agree. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, how this whole code editing thing from ChatGPT is just one example of the crazy advancements happening in AI right now. It's just a glimpse into a future where AI is just more and more integrated into our lives, not just with coding, but with everything.
That's kind of exciting, but also a little bit scary.
Yeah.
So how do we as individuals and as a society prepare for this future? What do we need to be thinking about?
Well, I think education is key. We need to give future generations the skills to understand and interact with, and maybe even create AI systems. This means encouraging critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, and of course, technical skills too.
So it's more than just teaching people how to code. It's about teaching them how to think critically about technology and its impact on the world.
Exactly. And also fostering a sense of responsibility.
Hmm.
As AI gets more powerful, it's super important that we use it for good and not for bad stuff.
Right. So we need to be talking about the values that we embed in these AI systems
Mhm.
and like think about the potential unintended consequences of their actions.
Absolutely. We need to have these open and honest conversations about the ethics of AI and involve not just the tech people, but ethicists and social scientists and the public in general.
It's a lot of responsibility, but it's one that we can't ignore, right? The future of AI is ultimately in our hands.
And as we explore this whole new frontier, it's important to do it with a sense of curiosity and wonder and also a bit of caution.
Yeah, that's a great point. This code editing feature, it seems small, but it's part of this much bigger story about how humans and machines are interacting, and it feels like we're really just at the beginning.
Totally. It's super exciting and potentially challenging too. It'll be fascinating to see how this shapes the world in the years to come.
Yeah, it does feel like something's changing here. It's not just like, oh, coding's a little easier now. This is like redefining how humans and tech work together. It's a big shift.
Absolutely. And that's what's so fascinating about this ChatGPT feature from the article, the direct code editing. It really changes things up.
Yeah, ChatGPT isn't just some tool sitting in the background anymore, right? It's like right there with you, in the mix, being creative, almost like it's collaborating.
And that's where the real potential is, I think. Imagine bouncing ideas off AI, having it test different things, even helping you learn new code tricks as you go.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But there's that fear too, right? What if AI gets too good at coding? Like replaces human coders altogether?
I get that. But AI is just a tool. Any tool, really. It can be used in good ways or bad ways, right? It all comes down to us, the humans using it, and what we decide to do with it.
So it's not like this AI versus human thing. It's more like AI and humans working together.
Exactly. And that means we need to think hard about the skills we need, the values we have in this new world of AI coding. The article touches on this, talking about critical thinking, problem solving, and being aware of the ethics involved.
And maybe even more than that, just being able to adapt and keep learning. Because tech changes so fast, what's amazing today might be old news tomorrow.
Oh, for sure. The big takeaway, I think, is this isn't just tech changing, it's our culture changing. New ways to work, new ways to think, new ways to see tech and its role in everything.
So what does all this mean for you listening right now? If AI is getting so good at coding, what skills will you need to stay ahead of the game? How will you adapt? And the biggest question, how you make sure this powerful tech is used for the right reasons.
These are questions everyone's facing, not just coders, anyone who uses tech, which is basically all of us these days. The article doesn't have all the answers, but it's a good place to start these important discussions.
It reminds us that we're not just watching this tech revolution happen. We're part of it, shaping what it becomes. The choices we make today will have a huge impact on tomorrow's world.
Well said. And with that, we'll wrap up our deep dive into ChatGPT's code editing powers. We hope this got your thinking and maybe inspired you to keep exploring how humans and AI will work together because it's a story that's just getting started.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.